Hello, cheeseheads, and welcome to the Caller and HG Live. It's a beautiful evening here up north. It's crystal clear skies, and I'm joined tonight by HG to look ahead to the Chelsea game at the weekend and get through some of your questions. HG, welcome. It's great to have you back in the cheese room, my friend, and you're looking very well.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. It's probably quite brassic here too. It's just super cold, super clear, and I think we're already in the minus degrees over here. So I can't imagine it's too different back home. But yeah, it's good to be on the show again.
If you're watching along live with us on Facebook this evening, just drop your questions or comments in the comments box, and we'll try and get through them all tonight. We've got several things to get through tonight. Obviously, looking ahead, Chelsea Spurs at the weekend. We haven't really got the best record at Stamford Bridge, have we, HG?
No, was it one win in 30 years now, or something like that? Yeah, it's been a while. Although to be fair, that just makes the one win that much sweeter, surely. Um, But yeah, that was a great afternoon when we beat them a few years ago, and yeah, like there's no reason to think we can't do it. Because like I mean, as good as Chelsea are, it is just Chelsea. Like we are at that level. It's not as if like for many of those years they were much better than us, and so it wasn't too surprising that we lost re repeatedly. But yeah, now like if anyone knows Chelsea, it's Mourinho. So
Mm.
yeah, we're not in a bad place to be.
And interestingly, last season, Fat Frank got the better of us, didn't he, against Jose? Different Spurs side though this season, different team really on the team sheet. Looking at it like year on year, I guess it'll be a completely different lineup. But do you think where do you think Fat Frank's at in his managerial career? Do you think he's done a good job so far for Chelsea? Because Roman Abramovich will be judging him surely this year, having spent all that money, won't he?
Look, to be fair to Lampard, I mean, like I'm not a massive fan of his, but I think that he's starting to figure things out a little bit. And his best performance as a manager was when they beat Spurs at the new stadium last season. The other game at Stamford Bridge, to me, doesn't really count because we had so few players available. I'm pretty certain Son and Kane were both out. I think even Bergwijn was out. We started Lamella. I mean, that's how low we were. And
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
yes,
Let's not go here again.
okay, I'm just saying, like, I mean, Delhi didn't start that game, which was, I think, the only game he didn't start while being fit for Mourinho last season, which was a strange one to miss considering he usually scores against Chelsea. But yeah, so that game to me doesn't really count. Chelsea, I mean, what was it, 2-1? I think it finished, but they got all three goals. Rudiger was nice and did his usual thing of own goals because I really don't rate him. But yeah, so like Lampard is doing all right. I think clearly they spent a lot of money in the summer. They bought players that we all know. We all think they're half decent, and so now it's a question of finding the right 11. And there are signs that he's getting there. Like I certainly know who I'd want in my 11 if I was Chelsea manager, and so there's a couple of players that might start against us where I'm thinking, yeah, like I'd actually like that if they played because I think it would weaken them somewhat. But as far as Lampard, like it's one of those things where he's got the players. It's a relatively easy job because of it, and so can he give performances? I mean, or like manage in the way that he did in that game last December when they came to the Spurs Stadium. And to be fair, despite Son getting sent off,
Mm.
I think they deserved to beat us that game. They were better than us in lots of ways.
And who stood out for Chelsea? Who from their summer signings for you? Who do you think has really shone?
I mean, like if you think of the fact that he's played almost every game, you'd probably go with Timo Werner. But I think that since Ziyech got fit, I think a lot of Chelsea fans like he's the one they want to see. He's the one who they think should start every game. Werner's missed a couple of sitters recently that has made people start to worry. And Abraham is in some decent form, although he's not a new signing. So
Yeah.
I think like Havertz is the one that seems to have had a slow start to his Chelsea career. But you could also talk about the goalkeeper. I mean, like the new one they got, the French
Yeah.
guy Mendy.
There's a
He
lot of
seems
Mendy's
to have.
about, isn't there? Loads of Mendy's
Yeah,
everywhere.
we just call him Eddie Smith from
It's
now on.
like Wilson.
Um,
Yeah, Smith.
yeah. So they spent, like I said, they spent a lot of money. Chilwell is obviously Premier League proven decent player. Thiago Silva, although old, yeah, he's not. He's come in and done okay, apart from that one game I think at West Brom when right at the start where he looked a bit out of place.
Yeah.
But I think, to be fair, I think that the defence is starting to look good because Lampard is getting that midfield selection right, and I think that's the key for them. Um, Whichever three they play up top is almost irrelevant. It's the three in midfield or the two in midfield, depending on if they go three at the back or four at the back. That I think is the key selection problem for them because they need to get the balance right.
Yeah, agreed. And how do you think we're going to line up? So, I mean, I talk about year on year the difference in the team. We're poles apart, surely, to where we were last year. Uh, what do you think our structure is going to look like? Rested a lot of players in the Europa League tie, which obviously is a very good thing and shows our quality now because we were able to just box that match off early, put the kids on. So Harry Kane's had a rest, hasn't he? Sissoko's had Reguilon. I could go on. Nearly all had a rest, haven't they? From our starting
Yeah, I
11 at
mean,
the weekend.
yeah, we made what I think 10 changes from the
Yeah,
team that
yeah,
started. I think it's safe to say that we're going to have nine. I think we could all name right now.
yeah.
The only two decisions will be, I say nine, maybe eight, but like the
Go
biggest
on then.
decisions are
Let's
going
have
to
a bit
be,
of, let's play with it then. HG, tell me your team.
well, like
Obviously,
if
Lloris in goal.
like again, like if Hugo's not got a cold anymore, then Hugo will be in goal. I think left back is clearly going to be Reguilon. Dyer will be one of the centre halves. I think that the other two defenders is probably up for grabs. I suspect Aurier will play, but it could be Doherty. I don't know that, but I suspect Aurier will play. The second centre half is one of the two positions where you're like, it really could go any way. I mean,
Roden or Tanganga?
it's interesting because like I think Tanganga was better than Sanchez last night. I think Tanganga looked far
Mm,
more. I mean, not just solid, but aware, like in
yeah.
control. Sanchez doesn't look in control ever, really. And if we're going to play, kind of a low or a mid block, as Kane calls it, then you want someone who is okay under pressure, and Sanchez just doesn't give you that impression. So I don't know who that's going to be. If it's Rodon, then great. But yeah, I don't. I guess it doesn't really matter because none of them seem to be any better than the others. Tanganga's inexperienced, so is Rodon. Sanchez has the experience, but we're all a bit unsure. So I don't think we know there. I think the three in midfield are set. It's going to be Højbjerg and Sissoko and
Mm.
Dombele. I'd be surprised if it was anything different, but it could be.
And Dembele is an
Kane,
interesting one because I didn't expect him to play actually in the Europa League. He's the 70-minute man, isn't he? So
yeah, I
he doesn't
mean,
get more than 70 minutes normally. But is Lo Celso fit? I heard he's got a bit of a knock, and that's why he missed
yeah,
Europa League.
this is it. Like a bit of a knock can mean anything. It's the famous hip irritation. It's like it's one of those things we just don't know. But if you're looking at players, I mean, as you said, Dombele is pretty much the one player who gets subbed whenever he starts. He's always, like whether it's the Celso coming in or someone else, but Dombele goes off. So yeah, he played an hour, but he's played just the same amount of football as Højbjerg.
Yeah.
It's just that he had two 60-minute appearances, whereas Højbjerg did 90 and 30. So I don't. I think both of them will start. There's a chance, I guess, that Mourinho might go for Lo Celso, but I suspect Lo Celso is in the running to maybe be that third striker
Yeah.
alongside Son and Kane because I just don't know where he's going to go. Is it going to be Lucas? Is it going to be Bale? Is Bergwijn fit? I think that is the key one now because we it may even be it could be a surprise and he could pick Delhi to do it because as I said, Delhi scores against Chelsea. It's his favourite opponent. So
Mm.
um, I do think personally the centre back next to Dyer and whoever plays right wing or left wing, depending if Son moves, they are the two decisions that we're just not sure of.
Mm. I've got to be honest. I think he's going to chuck Roden in there at the weekend, centre back. I think Tanganga's a good option, a very good option. But I think he loves this Roden. I genuinely do think Jose rates him very, very highly. Well, he's brought him to the club; he wouldn't have done otherwise. I think it's tailor made for him to come in and be a hero.
I mean, if you look at the substitutions, I mean, the fact that Roden's been on the bench for the last 3 or 4 league games ahead of Sanchez,
Yeah,
you'd have to think that he's ahead of Sanchez in the pecking order, and he would have played against Ludogorets had he been eligible. There's no doubt that Rodon is a good choice.
Mm,
But yeah, like I think because Tanganga played, I think he played better than Sanchez. There's a chance that Tanganga could come in. But yeah, like you, I think Rodon. I mean, he's what 6'4". We don't really have a huge amount of height in the team.
mm,
I know Kane's obviously good at defending, and Sissoko's not small. But to have an actual, a ball winner in the air and apparently good on the floor as well in Rodon, yeah, why not? Why not play Chelsea away as your first away game and Arsenal away as Arsenal at home as your first home game? It's like I know he got a few minutes against Burnley or wherever, but this will be his first start, and yeah, why not? You spend the money, you think that you obviously think he's capable.
absolutely. And speaking of Arsenal at home, and without getting sidetracked too much from the Chelsea preview, very exciting day for me today as a season ticket holder, able to enter the ballot online for tickets. Um, I wonder how many of our watchers tonight will be doing that. Good luck to you all if you are. 62,000 capacity, 2,000 people in attendance, and probably only 1,000 of those in the South Stand. But it's a start, isn't it, HG? It's a start. Um,
Yeah, I mean, you're lucky. Like Spurs come to Austria next week, and we're on lockdown, so there's pretty much no way I could wangle anything. So
yeah.
it's kind of annoying, as you can imagine. Like Spurs haven't played in Austria in I don't know how many years, and certainly not since I've lived here. So yeah, it's annoying, but yeah, it's a start. Like we all want to see a bit of normalcy, and going to Spurs for a lot of people is very normal. It's something they look forward to. It's not just a once a year treat like it might be for me, but this is a regular occurrence for an awful lot of people, and
Mm.
and they miss it. Just like I might miss going to the local kebab shop or whatever. People, if my wife is watching, I don't do that. All right, I don't do that. But but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's good, and the fact it's Arsenal obviously adds a little bit, and it's going to be on Sky, and it's the
Yeah,
main
yeah, yeah.
game.
And I tell you what,
It,
if you are selected, you're going to stand out in that crowd, aren't you? Cameron's
that's
going to
right.
be all over you.
Yeah, you're going to get one of those big foam fingers, like look at
Yeah,
me, like it
yeah.
could be you sitting in this seat.
I tell you what, I
But,
am paying tribute to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium tonight with some lovely Beavertown product, Lupaloid. I'm not. This isn't a paid endorsement. Can I just add? But if you do want to endorse
but,
the
but, but,
caller,
but we would take the money. Yeah,
we'd
we
take
would
the
take the
money
money.
absolutely. So Beavertown, if you're watching, give me a call. Call the caller. Um, what else have we got to say? So Chelsea have only played a couple of top Big Six teams, haven't they? They lost against Liverpool and
They
beat
did.
Manchester United like we did, albeit not as
No,
convincingly.
no, they didn't. They didn't beat them. They only drew with Man
Did they
United.
drew? Oh, okay. So a loss and a draw, and we've won one. One one.
Exactly. I mean, like everyone talks about how Spurs have had a relatively easy start to the season, and I mean that was clearly true before we played Man City. But like Chelsea's start hasn't been much similar, much different to ours. I just think that if you look at the teams that Chelsea have beaten, it's like Sheffield United and Burnley,
Yeah,
and they didn't beat West Brom. That was like their West Ham event, almost just the other way around. They beat Palace, but they haven't beat a team in the top half, and we have. So that at least gives us a bit of an edge. If only it was just the one game against Southampton. But yeah, Chelsea, I think, are similar to us. The difference being is that they don't have, four of the big six in 5 games, which is
yeah.
what we've got. City, obviously, last game, and then Chelsea, Arsenal. I think we got Palace for a bit, and
Whoa,
Palace could be
whoa, whoa,
top half
whoa.
by the time we play.
Are Arsenal in the Big
I know, I
Six?
know. Yeah, it's no. I mean, obviously Palace aren't, but yeah, it's not an easy run of games, and I think Chelsea have their bigger games more spread out than we do. But I think they are very similar to us.
Yeah,
They've had a lot of new signings. Their squad is a lot different to what it was before.
yeah.
It's going to be a really interesting game.
Yeah, I think it will be, and God, do I hope we win. Do you think Delhi's got any chance whatsoever of being selected, even on the bench, HG? Because my favourite memory of Stamford Bridge was Delhi doing it, his celebration in front of the Chelsea fans that year he scored that great goal, and sort of they were all sticking their fingers up at him, and he's just sort of doing the old ear cut
Yeah.
business. Any chance whatsoever he impressed in midweek? I know it was a pretty poor side we were playing, but he looked fairly decent, didn't he?
His attitude and application was much better than what we've seen. I don't think Delhi was that good, if I'm honest. I think he was trying a bit too hard. There were a couple of times where he should have just picked the simple option, but was always trying to do something special.
Yeah.
I get it, but like it's all about playing. I mean, it's about being smart, playing the percentages. Like if you think it can happen, if you think you've got a 60% chance of making the pass, then do it. But if it's only 30, then perhaps you shouldn't, especially against a good team, right? Maybe you can get away with that against Ludogorets, but you can't do that against Chelsea. You can't just give the ball away. I don't think there's much chance of him starting, if I'm honest. There's not a great chance of him being on the bench. But yeah, like as we talked about before, Son scores against certain teams, scores against Man City, and Delhi scores against Chelsea. This is proven. They don't like it, and it would be somewhat left field. But yeah, I don't know. Like it's at the risk of going, 5-3-8 about this. Probably less than 5% chance, but it's there. I think he's put himself in whatever discussion that Jose's having.
He has lots of discussions with himself, Jose, I think, about how great he is, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, interesting stuff. If you're watching along tonight, leave us a comment in the comments box. Let us know your thoughts on the game, and we'll shout you out. I know a couple of people have already, so thanks. We will absolutely get to you. In terms of Chelsea, is Kepa likely to ever be seen again?
Sadly, not. I'm like he might be on the bench, and if Mendy gets injured, we could have a bit of luck. Yeah, probably not. I think Kepa's on his way out. He'll be looking for a move away at some point again, because I think Kepa's still in the Spain squad.
Yeah.
So if Spain are obviously in the Euros next
I
year,
mean, he's probably a good keeper, but it's like anything, confidence plays a massive part, doesn't it? He's clearly got great technical ability, because otherwise he wouldn't have been scouted and wanted by so many big clubs.
it's one of those weird things that he was the big new name when it comes to Spanish keepers, and now he's almost been replaced by the guy who replaced him. So once he left to go to Chelsea, the new keeper at I think it's Bilbao, but the new keeper there is Unai Simon, and is also really good. So yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know where he would go. That's the thing with like keepers who go out on loan. Like I almost call it the Shay Given theory. Like Shay Given was this great keeper, but it's because he played for bad teams, so you saw him a lot, right? Like none of us know how good Joe Hart is because he's barely been tested in the 4 or 5 games he's played for us. So if Kepa goes to a team that might be struggling and becomes first choice and makes a few good saves, his confidence will go up and all manner of things. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what his future is, but I doubt it. It doesn't involve playing against us on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's get to some people watching this cast and see what they're saying. So Mark Donahue says, "Do you think the 2 league losses we had last year? Do you think the 2 league losses we had last year? Do you think Jose would have learnt from them, and we will go toe to toe or be pragmatic, like against City?" For me, pragmatic, very defensive, counter-attacking, and I don't think you'll see us venture past the halfway line very often. But when we do, it will be lethal.
It's one of those things. Like you can look at the way we've played and say, yeah, look, it's super defensive, or you can say, no, we just we strike at opportune moments. I mean, we all see it when Aurier and Reguilon would bomb forward. Like when there's a chance to break, they're on their bikes. Like they don't wait for the perfect break; they just go. So yeah, it's defensive to a point. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I just, as I said, if we ignore the game at Stamford Bridge last year, because I don't think we had much choice then, but to kind of just hope and pray that we didn't concede. That first game at Spurs last year is more of an indicator of what might happen, because like Chelsea, frankly, I think from the first minute dominated against us. They got their 2 early goals. I mean, they got the first goal from Willian. And then Gazaniga obviously decided to karate kick Marcus Alonso, which was fantastic.
Yeah,
it was fantastic, but just not in a game, please, Paolo. We don't do that in a game.
Yeah.
So that's more of a concern. But yeah, like I think Lampard will think, I know what I can do. It worked last time. Let's stick with it. And so it is kind of up to Jose to see, But I think with Chelsea being at home, Chelsea, I think, see this more of an opportunity for them to try and get 3 points. And so I do think that we'll be pragmatic, like you said, but I hope that Chelsea, I mean, they don't have to go guns a-blazing, but they'll be on the front foot and they'll want to get the opening goal, because in these games, the opening goal is everything. If we score it, we're laughing. If Chelsea score it, then we have to change the way we play. Yeah, exactly. Parking the bus. So look, I just, yeah, we'll. I don't want to say park the bus. We need to think of we need to think of a vehicle that goes from 0 to 60 in about 2 seconds. That's what we're parking.
Tesla.
That
Park the
well, okay.
Tesla.
No, yeah, but no, but something that people actually want to drive. Cool.
What do you mean?
Yeah, no. Well,
A lot
I
of
don't think
children point at my car with wonder.
they point at it. Yes, but I just think that if you like, I'm not a car person at all, but
If
um,
you were,
my
you'd want a Tesla.
my stepbrother growing up did like cars, and it was always a Lamborghini or some Ferrari or some I don't know what. Um, that's what we're parking. We're not parking a bus. We're parking a vehicle that can go from 0 to 60 quickly and hurt you, not in a running over death kind of situation car thing, but obviously. Yeah, I mean, I'm not not parking a bus. Come on.
I mean, yeah, parking a wrecking ball that can accelerate from 0 to 60 in 2 seconds. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a getaway car. That's what we're
the
parking.
getaway.
We're parking a getaway car.
All right,
A,
Dick Dastardly.
a souped up Ford Escort with Jose written above.
A Ford Escort.
Hey, I'm from Essex. That's what people did when I was a kid.
Jesus Christ, that's probably what they still
Bought
do in Essex. Um,
probably.
Jay Warmer says, "Hi guys, momentum needs to carry on. These next two games against our closest rivals are so critical. I'm clearly stating the obvious here. Delhi will not be getting back into our first team, I'm afraid.
I mean, it's true. It's unlikely, certainly for the Chelsea game. But yeah, like there is a spot open, and we don't know. We really don't know. Like I don't think any of us expect it to be
Mm.
Delhi. It's almost certainly going to be someone with a bit of pace. But yeah, it is still possible that
Could it be
we've seen
Bergvine?
stranger things. If Bergwijn is fit, you'd think so, but yeah, I don't know.
You wouldn't want to
That's
change that team that in effect dominated City. And I say
yeah.
dominated because we let them have the possession. The game plan worked perfectly. And people say it wasn't a masterclass. To me, that was an absolute masterclass in how you play City. You know they're better with the ball with you. You adapt and you hurt them when you can. And that's exactly what we did. And yes, it's a bit crap to watch sometimes, as I think the Chelsea game will be. But I think you've got to be really pragmatic when you're playing these top teams because if we max points against Chelsea, that'll be United, City, and Chelsea done before the season's even halfway through. How many seasons can you remember us doing that to the top
I
six?
mean, yeah, like winning at Old Trafford is rare. Winning at Chelsea is even rarer. Beating City, we actually do relatively often,
Yeah,
especially at home. It's not that strange. But yeah, I mean, if you get 9 points from those three games, you're laughing. I mean, you really are. We can't like. I think if we were to do that, we could, if we wanted to, kind of forget about those points we dropped against, West Ham and
never
Newcastle, because
forget.
maybe we've got. Yeah, I know we can't really forget them, but do you know what I mean? Like we'd have got something back. I think we're already 6 points ahead of where we were last year. If we win against Chelsea, that goes up to 9. We're in a good spot, and like even if we lose, and I hope we don't, but even if we lose, we've lost away from home, so we know that we get them back at Spurs probably when there are fans available. Hopefully early next year. I don't know, but I definitely think that Jose will say, look, these big games we can't like. It's not about winning, like we want to win, but it's about making sure we don't lose, and I think that's probably going to be at the forefront of his mind. Um, kind of like that Palace game at the end of last season where it was 1-1 and we were like, right, we did nothing for like the last
Yeah, yeah,
half an
yeah,
hour.
yeah, yeah.
It may well be like that where the end result is more important than anything else. But I mean that feels a bit negative, but I think that's probably what we might do.
Yeah. Daniel Harrison says, I've heard a lot about the lack of fans doing Spurs a favour given the style of football being played. Personally, I think this is tosh and most fans would be happy to see us again. Do you agree?
I think it's becoming very much like Atletico Madrid under Simeone, right? Like Atletico Madrid before he came were a big name. They'd won something in the 90s, but they weren't really Champions League, certainly not every season. And he came in and he found a way of playing that involved defending deeply, lots of clean sheets, and then hitting teams on the break. They had Costa, obviously a perfect Josie player. They had Diego Costa. They had, I mean, the other Diego, the little Brazilian guy for a while. That might be where we are. And I think if you asked an Atletico Madrid fan, like, do they miss those days of exciting football with Fernando Torres where they won nothing? I think they probably all say no. We prefer this way. It might be more difficult to watch,
Atrocious.
but yeah, but you want to win. I mean, like this is the funny thing. Like when I go to see Spurs, I want to see them win. Yes, like I'd like to see us play well,
Yeah.
but I'm there to support them almost regardless of whether we win. But walking away with a victory, it makes you feel like, yeah, like this 50 quid, this 70 quid, whatever, was well spent, right? Like you're not going to watch a movie where at the end of it you can say that was good or bad. You have something that you're already invested in, and if you get that result that you want, then yeah, I think it does make it worth it. So look, I do understand where they're coming from. These people that say this about Spurs fans being, it's not the Tottenham way, but Spurs fans, for a long time. I mean, like what we're both. Well, I'm early 40s. You're almost there,
I mean,
and
let's not go that far.
no,
Got another year and a half. Year and a
but I
couple of
don't,
months.
I don't really remember until Pochettino came. I don't remember a side that won consistently, and I
No.
don't think Spurs fans are used to it. Like maybe those who are in their mid to late 20s who've only really seen 10 years of European football, and I think that's normal. But for those of us that are older, I want to see us
Oh, we've
win.
shit for years.
Yeah,
Years.
I want to see us win. I'm not so worried. Like, especially if we do like we did against City, where yeah, okay, they had more shots than us, but we were deserved winners, right? Well, like we took our chances and we won the game. It's not like someone scored off their ass or off their hip or off their off their knee, right? Like we actually went out and just took our chances, and they didn't. Whatever the chances they had, they couldn't take them. So yeah, I think that if we end up doing this Atletico Madrid and getting the title thanks to a lot of clean sheets, none of us are going to complain.
Yeah.
Even if we're sitting in the stadium watching it, none of us are going to complain. It's going to be a massive party.
I mean, two things. Firstly, this stuff is 6.7%. I feel slightly sloshed after two of them. No wonder the 4-pack's so bloody expensive. I'm following that up with some Gamma Ray, which is available in the stadium, HG. Neck oil I had the other day. That's like your 4.5. This thing's a 5.4, and I thought this was nice. But then this 6.7%.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit woozy, to be honest. But never mind.
Well,
Well, I will drink. Yes, I know.
All right, go on, let's do another question.
I will. James Potts says hello, and a bit of a comment.
Wait, hang on a second. He's from Geelong. Calm the Cats, James. Calm the Cats.
There you go.
Lived in Melbourne for a while. Geelong was my team, white and
you
blue.
You lived in Melbourne, did you?
I did, yeah. I actually lived in Tottenham. Which is a part of West Melbourne.
You've
when
literally
I
been everywhere, haven't you?
Well, the Globetrotter is there for a reason. Yeah, like I did. I did my working holiday in Australia, like many Brits do, and I was in Melbourne. So Geelong became my team, and
go Cats.
So yeah, well, hello James. I like Geelong. It's a bit like Dagenham because it's a big Ford place, but apart from that, it's quite nice.
Is this like Australian rules football you're referring to?
Yes, I am. Aussie rules.
Yeah,
it's actually
I don't know.
It's a really good game, but we won't talk about Aussie rules. But it's a good game.
Impressed with Clark's time on the pitch yesterday. Yeah, I thought he looked snappy. Was the easiest way to put it. I thought he had a bit of bite. He looks quick, doesn't he? And he was useful a couple of times. It's time will tell with him, but I think we've got a player there. I genuinely do.
I want to see him like just go into the box and drive forward with the ball. There were a number of occasions last night where he was ahead of his man and almost like waited for the ball to stop before he looked up and saw what was around, and he just needed to go into the box because I reckon he'd have been clipped a couple of times. I think he's a player. I mean, I agree with Franco on the pod. Franco talks about how he looks like he's going to be something special, and I'd like it. I just want to see him be a bit more direct and confident because I don't think he looks confident. I don't think he feels as if he really belongs at that level yet. But talent-wise, I think he does. He just needs to believe that a little bit more. I think it's similar to Skip. As in, like Skip, when he came into the team, he is a player, but he was very safe when he first came in, and then he started to show signs of I train with these guys every day. I know I'm at their level, and I'm not sure if Clark is there yet, but he should be because I think he can do it.
Well, Skip's a DM, and we need a DM cover, absolutely. So getting back to the club is what I say. He makes Winks look like a schoolboy, 56-yard goal, fluke or not. but we won't go into that now. Chris Watts says, I'm pretty confident of us getting a result on Sunday. I don't see us losing. Werner's pace does concern me, though. I'm glad you picked up on him. We need to nullify the servicing to impress from the get-go. Werner's been really impressive, hasn't he? Really impressive. And, he scored against us. I mean, I saw it firsthand in that in the demolition, obviously, playing for RB Leipzig. He looks a fantastic acquisition, doesn't he, HG? Are we worried?
Yes. Sorry?
Are we worried about him tomorrow? Sunday, I should say.
I'm not overly worried because it's a Chelsea player, so we know they're going to be good. It's not like it's Mason Mount, who I'm not worried about at all. It's
you should say that.
No, wait a second. I'd like to congratulate Chris for using the word nullify. That is not a word that anyone who went to the school that we both went to, because I know him. Chris and I went to the same school in a lower part of the world in Hampshire, and so like Werner, there's a bit of Andy Cole about him, I think, where he might need a lot of chances, and then he'll score one that he just bullets into the back of the net, when he doesn't think about it. So there is a little bit about him where if he thinks, he might make a mistake, but his pace, I don't know how to put it. If we're playing super defensively, where's he running to? The pass has to be perfect, and he has to be able to get on it in 2 or 3 yards, because although Dyer isn't the quickest at turning, if he's standing in the right place positionally, it won't matter. So pace would be more of a worry if they're winning 1-0 and we're pushing at the end of the game to try and get an equaliser. But if we play the way that we have done, then I think that pace is really the last thing we need to be concerned about. Pace on the wings for sure, but is Werner going to play on the wing? I don't know. He might be the centre forward. They might play Giroud because he always seems to score against us.
He does.
But I don't know. I don't know what Chelsea will do. They may well go with if they play 3 up top, which I think they will. It may well be someone like Mason Mount behind a Giroud or a Werner or an Abraham. But I don't think Werner will be one of the wide 3. Maybe he should be, but I don't know. I wasn't concerned about Man City last week, so I'm not too concerned about Chelsea. But yeah, Werner, if you allow Werner to run, you have trouble for sure, because he is incredibly quick.
This is where we need to be an intelligent, unmentionable, and take the sucker out from the first minute, make him uncomfortable, or as my PE teacher used to say, let him know you're there, lad.
You know what Chelsea will do. If we do break and the fullbacks bomb forward, that will be exactly when Lampard will tell those players, move into the gap behind, and we'll try and get you the ball as quickly as we can. And if that happens and Reguilon is out of place, or Aurier is out of position, then we have an issue, because I don't want to see Werner run up against Dyer. Definitely not. Yeah, quite.
No one wants to see that.
But yeah, I think that it's all about making sure that we're smart. If the fullbacks do bomb forward, we know Sissoko's fast. He can maybe cover up the one side of the pitch. Will Højbjerg be there to do the other side? I don't know. So we do have to worry, but I think that the way that we want to set up should nullify him a little bit, just because there won't be space for him to run into.
Okay, that's fine. Hi from Dubai. Hi from Dubai. Hi from up north in the UK. Dubai, one of my favourite cities.
Haven't you?
I've been to Dubai a few times. A lovely place. Absolutely. One of my favourite cities on the planet. It's beautiful. Have you been, HG?
No.
You should put that on your list to do, because it's what they've done there in such a short space of time is just absolutely unbelievable. It's a sight to behold. The world's biggest everything.
Okay.
Spence Brown says, HG, big weekend for Spurs and Browns. Who are the Browns? Is he referring to himself or?
No, he's referring to an American football team.
Okay.
I met Spencer on a Cleveland Browns group as well, so he knows me from this, and he knows me from that too. So hello, Spencer. Good luck with your newborn when it happens, and yeah.
The Harlow Globetrotters got fans and acquaintances around the world.
That's how I can afford these trips. I don't go and stay in hotels. I can't afford that. I'm a poor teacher. I go and stay with friends that I make. That's how it happens.
There's method to your madness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Daniel Harrison says, I hope we have a plan B against City because they're a very different proposition. Against Chelsea because they're a very different proposition. City, we might do more of the breaking down. Maybe HG.
I don't think there's much difference if you think about the fact that their fullbacks will almost certainly be what Reece
Bombing
James
on.
on the right, and yeah, they'll want to get forward, and so if they do, then that will be the time for Bergwijn and Son or whoever it is to use those spaces. So there's not a great difference between the two. If Chelsea go three at the back, which I think they might, because it did work for them last season, if they go three at the back, then those wing backs will have a lot more freedom to just attack. Right? I mean, they won't need to worry because they'll have, I think Kante will start in midfield, but with Thiago Silva and Zuma's fast. So if they do go with three central defenders, which I think they might, if I'm honest, then there'll be maybe a little bit of less space for us. But I don't know, like I say this, I think it's a very big game, but if we take our chances, because we will get chances, we've just got to take them like we did against City. If we score within the first 5 minutes, everyone gets a boost. So, like, I don't think Chelsea will sit back and be defensive like we will, and so us breaking them down will be more just using the ball wisely rather than using guile or being creative. I don't think that's not the way we're going to break them down. We're just going to. It'll be similar to the goal that Kane scored that wasn't given, where it was just calm and methodical and get behind Chelsea that way.
And surely the team talk from Jose is basically do the same as you did against City in terms of aggression, passion, winning the ball, winning the second ball, and constantly harrying them. That press, get that going, and they'll make mistakes.
Especially early on, like we saw last season, and we'll refer to that game again, where Chelsea played a 3-4-3, but because they had, I think it was Willian and Mount playing as the two wide attackers, they would often drop into midfield, and so it became they almost had 4 players there to surround our 2, because I think we only had 2 at the time. That for that reason, Chelsea dominated from the first second. They got the ball, they kept the ball, they played. And I think that we need to make sure that they can't do that. So maybe for the first 5 or 10 minutes, it will be a bit more blood and thunder, certainly in certain areas of the pitch. But I don't think that we won't engage them any higher than maybe 30, 40 yards from our own goal, because that's not what we want to do. But we can't allow them to. We can't get sucked up the pitch. Like if we stay 30 or 40 yards from our own goal, and Mount and Willian drop deeper to help out in midfield, well, that's good because they're then closer to their own goal rather than ours. So it makes a huge amount of sense for us to just, 18-yard box is our offside line, and work from there, and then try to play on the counter.
Absolutely. Ben Timmings says he's picking his lineup, although he's corrected this. Son, Harry, Moura, Bergwijn, Ndombele, Sissoko, Davis, Tandanga, Aurier is my predicted lineup. Actually, and then he's corrected himself, but actually slide Ndombele in left, drop Bergwijn because I've forgotten Højbjerg. How could you forget Højbjerg? Would be my first question, Ben. The Danish midfield minesweeper. So do you like that analogy?
Because the Danes are known for their minesweepers.
Absolutely. I can't see the Davis at left back, if I'm being really honest.
No, like if Region is fit, he starts.
Tanganga's a toss up. And other than that, I'd probably, because you put in Højbjerg in, aren't you, for Bergwijn? So it's just Moura or Bergwijn up front. So yeah, pretty much the same as us. Joel Hogan said, you'll love this one, HG. Evening, guys. Happy Friday to you. Dare I say, some Lamella Steel might be good for annoying Chelsea and maybe closing a game. What do you think? Well, he's not fit, unfortunately, Joel. But if he was, I'd absolutely have him on the bench for this. You're right. He's exactly the sort of player you want to bring on when you're winning, and to annoy the hell out of them. Really, HG, do you remember the Battle of the Bridge? He was good that day, wasn't he?
No, that was just a bad day because we didn't win. It's a different topic, but that is not a good memory as far as I'm concerned. But I will say, Lamella's best game as a Spurs player, in my opinion, was at Stamford Bridge in the game where we beat them 3-1. He started that game because Kane was out injured. And so I think he was almost like the false nine. Um, because, yeah, he did what we all know he can do, which is just be annoying. It was up to other players. I mean, Dele got two and Ericsson scored the long ranger, but it was the other players that hurt Chelsea. But Lamella just was annoying. And so
Yeah.
that's what he does. If he was fit,
He knows everyone, including you.
yeah, he does. Look, still, I don't think Lamella is a good use of a sub because to me, subs should either see out a game or help you score. And I don't think Lamella could help us score. And if it came to seeing out a game, I'd rather have a defender personally or a defensive midfielder. If you want Lamella to be more defensive from an attacking point, just I don't know. It just seems a bit of a waste. So look, he has a purpose, but I'm even if he was fit, he certainly wouldn't be in my starting 11 tomorrow, and I'm not sure I'd have him on the bench.
Okay. We know that was fairly predictable, if I'm being really honest, in terms of a
Yeah,
response.
I am consistent in my thoughts, that's for sure.
Joel also says, also, do you think Rodon will come in for tomorrow? I'd have him more Tanganga than Sanchez. I think we've covered that pretty well if you watch back
We
earlier
did,
in the
but yeah,
broadcast. But yeah,
just to say it again for Joel, I think we both think that Rodon is more likely to start, right? I mean, like I think that despite Sanchez having the experience, that Rodon is likely to come in and play next to Dyer. So yeah, it'll be a good chance. It's not a bad game to start.
Tony Cormack, hi Tony, very loyal cheesehead Tony. Just to say, those who've been talking of Winks or Deli going in January, that'd be me. Thursday was a big reminder of the depth we have and how we'll need it to rest the first 11 going into these top table 6-pointers. Those two are going nowhere. I'd certainly agree. In January, it'd be very unlikely they'd be going anywhere. I think my comments are sort of in relation to where does Winks fit in the bigger picture. And where does Dele fit in the bigger picture, and is there a place for him at Spurs? Winks is a case of is he high enough quality? Dele is never a case. His quality is never in question. It's just does he fit the system and can he make it work? Which I don't personally think he can, although I hope he can. That would be my response. HG, no one leaving in January. Do you think?
Maybe Gazaniga, but no one who's played a minute. Like I can't see anyone who's actually played some minutes for Spurs this season leaving in January because like there's no need for us to do it. Like if anything, like we might bring Skip back. Like if we're around the top areas and we're still in every competition, so there is going to be a chance. And like we know between now and January we've got games every 3 days. I think that's not really going to change for the whole season. As soon as the Europa League starts up again in February, it will be similar if we go deep in that competition. So, yeah, we need a strong squad. Like I understand that Winks might want to go and because he's worried about his spot in the Euros. Dele, I don't think the Euros is really an option for him anymore. But still, he might want to play more. But as a club, like we did this in 2012. We let Choluka go. We let Pavlyuchenko go. And it hurt us in the end. I don't think we need to be doing this. Like we can afford to keep people around without having to worry too much. So I don't want to see anyone really leave. No.
I like Super Pav. He was a good player, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Liked him.
2-footed. He was better than people gave him credit for.
Oh, much better. Frodo Nilsson, thanks for coming on, Frodo. I know you're constantly a cheesehead. So, do you this? I tell you what, I'm even slurring my words now. The Beaver Town's got to me. Do you expect the same game plan against City? I think we've covered that.
Yes,
yes, basically to summarise. And
good
Joel
morning to
also
Australia. But yes, it will be the same as City. Absolutely.
Joel also says, will you put this on YouTube later? It absolutely will be on YouTube later to everyone watching. So we're doing the Facebook Lives, but we're also putting them on YouTube straight after as well, so people can catch up. And please do watch and subscribe on there because it really helps the show out when people do. Tony says a lot of things, but unlike City, we do need to get at Chelsea as their main weakness is at the back. Hopefully, the fact they've played a strong 11 midweek goes in our favour. Do you think that's true? Because Chelsea's goal conceded record is second only to ours in the league. So they've got the second tightest defence in the league. So for all I give Frank Lampard a load of shit about the fact that I don't think he's a very good manager, he certainly seems to have shored them up at the back.
Like I think the biggest thing for Chelsea, and I talked about this earlier, is their midfield, like what they do. Because last season, I think they liked to have what Jorginho is the deepest with Kovacic on one side and N'Golo Kante on the other. And I think this year he's realised that actually he doesn't need Jorginho and that he can have Kante be the defensive one and allow maybe more progressive passes to be either side of him. And I think it's helped Chelsea, weirdly, by taking out, because Jorginho doesn't really offer anything when it comes to defensive cover. We saw that when Son scored the worldie against them a couple of years ago, that Jorginho was just running in treacle. So, like from Chelsea's point of view, actually, I mean, they really are very similar to us because they conceded 3 goals in one game. It was like they took 45 minutes to have their aberration, whereas we took 10. But they 3 goals to West Brom. We conceded 3 to West Ham. There's really not that much difference. But I just think the spine that they have is stronger. They've realised that Thiago Silva and Zuma are probably their best 2 centre backs. If they do go for a third, then that changes things a little bit. But I mean, Azpilicueta was a great player for them, and he can't get in the team now. Look, I know he's older and maybe declining in quality, but he's still a very good player. So it's Chelsea are a good side. I mean, like we look at, like, I think if you were to pick a top 4 right now, it would be Liverpool, City, Chelsea, and Spurs. I mean, I think that's relatively set. Man United can get 30 penalties a game, and it still might not help them. So.
They're all right. Ollie's at the wheel. He'll have his usual like run that saves his job, like midway to sort of towards the end of the season, hopefully.
Okay. So look, I don't know. I just think Chelsea, when it comes to obviously we need to worry about them, but our focus should be this is what we're doing. Like our focus is on stopping them, but then also how can we hurt them? And I think both sides have that kind of the weakness at the back if the fullbacks bomb forward. So who's going to be better? Is it going to be Son and Bergwijn at taking those chances? The only major difference I think between the two is that Chelsea's number 9 is their focal point, and whereas Kane likes to drop deep, we're a bit more like Liverpool in that, where our main striker almost becomes the number 10, and the wide forwards become the threat.
The pincer, yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Lee Woods says, do you see any scenario in the future where Kane and Vinicius start together? Yep, I do. Well, not start. Okay, no, I'll take that back. No, I don't, because I think that the one up top is the system that Jose is going to pretty much religiously stick to. He's done it most of his career. I can't see us going to a 4-4-2 really under any circumstances, unless he was just having a bit of fun and an experiment, and he ain't going to do that in a campaign where we're pushing for the league title.
Yeah, that's just it. Like the reason we have Vinicius is because we need to protect Kane, right? That's it. So by playing them both, it doesn't protect Kane, which is, let's face it, 70% of why we have Vinicius, right? Yeah. I mean, Vinicius clearly looks like.
What did you make of him, HG? What did you make of him in the Europa League?
I had this discussion with Sean on a pod once where we talked about like what we thought was most important in a footballer, and he talked about, I think, pace, because people are scared of pace, so that's a really good thing to have. And to me, it's all about intelligence. It's about picking the right pass at the right time. And if you take that last goal, right, where Vinicius controlled the cross from Dele, could have turned easily and tried to get a strike on goal with his left foot, but realised that the better option was to just play it sideways to Lucas. So that to me said more about his ability than whether he found the top corner or that he scored 2 goals. Yeah, it's up top. I think it's almost true in any profession, let alone as a footballer. But people who make the correct decisions under pressure are the ones that do better. You can have all the training in the world, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you lose it at the moment where you need it, there's a problem. And I think Vinicius has that ability. And if you look at the video that Spurs released, it was him and Lucas talking in a Brazilian restaurant, and they kind of talked about Vinicius's road to stardom and how he was a defensive midfielder for a while, and then he was an attacking midfielder for a while. You see that, you see it's about finding the best option rather than personal glory. Which, to be fair, as strikers, that is usually what your game is about. So I'm very happy. It'll be interesting. I don't think we'll ever pay the whatever the fee is at the end of the loan, but it would be nice to have him back. Like I just think that it may well end up being another loan or something.
Yeah.
I don't see us paying 40 million or whatever it is to
No,
sign him permanently.
no, I can't see us paying that, to be honest. Not having just lost 65 million and potentially losing another 150.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. We're pretty up to date, really. Tony says they both look keen Thursday. I think Dele has accepted his role and now he's in the second 11, buckling down. I'm not sure if he's accepted it, but he's certainly aware that he's not near the first team and he is working hard.
Like if Dele wants to play, right, which I'm sure he does, right? Whether it's like, don't get me wrong, he doesn't want to play Ludogorets. He'd rather play Chelsea, right? That's who he is.
Yeah.
But if he wants to play, given the options that we have, he needs to show that he's willing to do what the manager wants. Like there are other options to be that to play that role. Like if Lo Celso had been fit, maybe he'd have started, right? We don't know. But for Dele to put in the application that he showed, I mean, you know me, like I'm not a massive fan of application because I think it should be a given. But when he gives it, then great. I mean, like if Lamela was fit, maybe Lamela would have started in that role. So Dele knows that he's very close to not being involved at all. And I think as you talked about the quality earlier, like we all know that he's got it, right? Whatever it is, he's got it. So we need to find a way. Yeah, he has that it factor. He has it. We've talked about whether he should be a second striker, whether he's a box-to-box, whatever it is, but he has the ability to score, which is the most difficult part of being a footballer. You don't score the amount of goals that he did in that wonderful season without being a natural goal scorer and finding the right positions. So we need to find a way. But for him to, like as I said, I don't think he was great with the ball, but he certainly showed more application against Ludogorets, who, frankly, I mean, they weren't good, but we that first 45 minutes we pressed them. We didn't give them a chance to gain confidence or to get good. We made sure that they knew who was in charge, and Dele was a big part of that.
No, absolutely. Final question, I think. Back to Thursday, did Winks mean it? I think he's actually come out, Tony, and said he didn't mean it. So, I called it at the time on our little Slack chat group. There's no way in a month of Sundays Winks has got the vision to look for a lob from 56 yards. He was trying to pick out Kane with a pass, but at least he held his hands up and said, honest if nothing else.
The funny thing is, like when Jose came out afterwards and said, "Hey, like if had it been me, I'd have said I meant it and maybe gone forward for the Puskás." Like he's got a point that, like, had he come out and said, "Yeah, I meant that," it may well have been nominated because it was a freak goal. But if you say that you mean it, then like what are you going to do? Like they have to consider it. Look, people have a go at Winks for being sideways, a bit of a crab, doesn't like to pass the ball forward. Like he's very lucky that it went in because it was so miles away from what he intended. I mean, you can get the pass wrong or you can score. If that's his option, then great. Pick scoring every time, Harry. But the pass was so far off target that would have been the story had it not found the top corner. Because I think I might have done a better job at finding Bale than Winks did when it came to finding that pass.
What I'd say is, though, he's very good with a tee bag from 4 yards.
Well, that's a big part of the game. I mean, Maradona was great with an orange, apparently, but Winks is what Winks is. Like he's club grown, he's homegrown. He gives everything that he's got. He'll have moments where he's super useful. He'll have moments where he's not. But we have to keep players like him around because he gets it. Like if we win the league, right? No, I don't even want to finish that sentence. But
when we win the league,
if 19 other teams get fewer points than us, which is how I'm going to phrase it from now on, if 19 other teams get fewer points than us, Winks will celebrate it as a fan and as a player. which has got to be a good thing to be, right? No one else really has that. I don't think we can sit here and say that Kane is a diehard Spurs fan. We know that Winks is. You know, he grew up as a Spurs fan. He's been at the club since he was 8. I
Yeah.
mean, like the man is Spurs through and through.
And then in the summer transfer window, I'll go to Southampton. Thanks very much. It's my
Well, you know,
dream. We want to
it
get
wouldn't.
rid of Lamella. I'd see the same. I feel the same about Harry Winks.
Yeah, no, I get it. I do see where you're coming from, but like, give him his due. Like it went in. It's his Rabona. It's his moment in the sun. And we are lucky to have him. Like I do think we are lucky to have him. Because
Lucky.
yeah, because like again, like when Skip comes around, then you're right. Skip will probably take his place. But right now he isn't around, and so we need someone like Winks, someone who can like he's not going to start the big games. We know that. We've talked about this with Winks. But like, if he wasn't around, like if he was injured, right, and Lo Celso's out, then Sissoko and Højbjerg have to start that game last night, right? Because there's no midfield dynamo in the under 23s that we. I mean, Harvey White maybe, but do you know what I mean? Like it's we should be grateful that Winks is around to do the job we ask of him.
Okay, HG. So, lastly, before we wrap up, a couple of things. What's your prediction?
For the Chelsea game.
Oh, yes. Well, you can tell me about us winning the league if you want.
No. Yeah, you're right. It's a Chelsea preview. It's going to be for the Chelsea game. You know what? I want to be positive. I do. Chelsea, like I say this every time, Chelsea will score. I was wrong last week. I'd hope to be wrong again. Chelsea will score, but yeah, I think we might nick it. So, you know what? I don't think Chelsea will score. I'll say 1-0 Spurs. Nothing more than that. Maybe a penalty or something ridiculous, but I think it will be 1-0 Spurs.
And I'm going to say 2-1 Spurs. It's going to be a very, very hard fought, close game. We're just going to scrape it. Just going to scrape it. And we're going to go 2-0 up. We're going to think we're comfortable. Timo Werner's going to smack in a goal, and we're all going to have squeaky bum time for the last 15 minutes because that's what we do better than anyone. So we'll see. Finally, just time to say, if those of you who follow us on Facebook, as you will do if you're watching on Facebook, there's double discount today at football prizes for Black Friday. So do get over there and have a look. The Spurs themed prizes that they're currently running. There's a bundle prize of home and away shirts for the kids. There's a Gaza Italia 90 signed shirt. You'd like that on your wall, surely, HG?
I'd want to wear it. I mean, putting a shirt on a wall is not me, but yes, like it's a great present. Absolutely.
There you go. And a Tonga Endembele framed and signed shirt. Tickets range from $3.95 down to £2.39 for a prize to win a Samsung television. You can get over there and you can get a discount of 10% using the code 10cheese. So get over to Football Prizes and have a look, have a butcher's, and grab yourself a chance of winning those prizes. 2-1, 1-0, either way, we're going to win. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.